Yeah. How about Joe Musgrove and his influence? He's probably had an influence on Ryan Weathers, some other young guys in this organization. I know he just spent some time in AAA for that one rehab start before he went to Lake Elsinore. Have you heard any stories of Joe Musgrove really mentoring some of these guys in AAA, like his time there? I know it wasn't a long period of time, but what did some of those players take away from that?
Yeah, I know his reputation as a hard worker with his conditioning has to make an effect on people. The day after start in AAA, he did this really subtle thing. In the minor leagues, I'm not sure if this is the case in the major leagues, but the previous day's starting pitcher typically handles the bucket at batting practice. They collect all the baseballs behind a screen in center field. Not the most fun job, but it's just tradition. The previous day's starting pitcher does it. Joe Musgrove, under no obligation to do it as a major leaguer on rehab, volunteered to do that. He liked the message that sent. And an El Paso coach told me, yeah, you don't have to tell him to do anything. He apparently shows up with such passion for his conditioning. And I also heard that's why the Padres wanted him to throw his side session, his bullpen in San Diego, as opposed to El Paso, because Musgrove was so eager to get back that some in the organization thought, well, this guy's going to say anything to get back in the rotation as soon as possible. We want to absolutely make sure his foot is ready. Sometimes a player is just so passionate that they want to come back tomorrow,
Right.
whereas the medical people say, okay, let's slow down a little bit. And it sounds like that's what happened with Musgrove. So I think the longer I do this, the more you hear about players and the great ones. They're also in tune with their routine and their body, whether it's their diet, their conditioning, their mechanics. I mean, it's stating the obvious, but that's just a huge part of why the great players are great. Earlier, I mentioned the Yadier Molina rehab assignment that I was around for when El Paso was visiting Memphis. And the Memphis broadcaster walked up to him on Friday in the afternoon before a Friday night game, and he asked him if he had 5 minutes for an interview. And without skipping a beat, Molina said, "Let's do it Sunday morning at 10." And I love that. This guy is a probable Hall of Famer. And on Friday, he knew his schedule for Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And guys like Musgrove, I've heard about some Padres that are the same way. Like, they know when they show up to the Peoria complex or to Petco Park what that day's schedule looks like.
Yeah, always prepared. Yeah, definitely. Musgrove, he's one of the many leaders on this Padres team, and so that's great to hear